virtue.
A very good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and a warm welcome to plenary session 2 of the 3rd International Postgraduate Student Conference INGRACE 2025.
My name is Ernesto.
And my name is Anissa. We are delighted to be your masters of ceremony for the second day of our conference.
Thank you for all the incredible energy and spirit you have brought into the room this morning.
And ladies and gentlemen, we are moving directly into a very important discussion. And the topic for this plenary session is economic justice in transition, navigating inequality, sustainability, and legal reform.
Ladies and gentlemen, this session will explore the complex intersection of economic disparity, environmental sustainability, and the evolving legal landscape, all in the pursuit of a more just and equitable future.
And to guide this conversation, we are honored to introduce our moderator for today, Rangga Dahlan, SH LLM, MPhil, DPhil.
Mas Rangga is a lecturer here at the Department of International Law, Universitas Gadjah Mada, where he also completed his undergraduate law degree. His academic journey is truly international. He earned an LLM from the University of Groningen, a Master of Philosophy in Archaeology from the University of Cambridge.
And he has completed his doctoral studies at the Center for Social Legal Studies at the University of Oxford. And the Faculty of Law, Mas Rangga is a researcher at the Joyo Center and the Law, Gender and Society Center. And his research interests focus on critical heritage studies and the local realities of international law. And one more personal note for today, we've been informed that he is also the proud unpaid employee for 6 cats.
Wow! Such a nice info, yeah, Mas Rangga. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, please join us in giving a warm round of applause to welcome our moderator to the stage. You're already on the stage. I'm sorry. Mas Rangga Dahlan.
Mas Rangga, the stage is yours.
Okay. Hello, everybody. It's always very awkward whenever my profile is read. I don't like listening to my own profile. But okay, thank you very much for the introduction. My name is Rangga Dahlan, and I will moderate the session in which we will have 4 distinguished keynote speakers, which I will introduce in due course. So I went around all 4 of them to ask how they would like to be introduced, and I did this to prevent me from having to read their profile, because if you look at the program book, their profiles are truly exceptional, and if I read all of them, we will spend 3 semesters here. I don't want that. As Pak Thomas remarked yesterday, this needs to be brutal, Pak. We need to be brutal. We are pressed for time. So when I finish introducing your names, I would like you to please join me in these very distinguished couches. Our first keynote speaker is Dr. Rimawan Pradiptyo. Dr. Rimawan is a lecturer at the Faculty of Economics and Business at Universitas Gadjah Mada, and known for his active advocacy on anti-corruption issues. He completed his doctorate in economics at the University of York, United Kingdom. And importantly for us lawyers and legal students in this auditorium, it was his calculation of social costs of corruption and removal of illegal gains that have led to a Supreme Court judgment that have been issued this past 15th of September 2025, and he has been working on this case since 2009. So he's very significant for our understanding of corruption in our effort to eradicate them. Dr. Rimawan Pradiptyo, please join me at the stage. Welcome, Pak Rimawan. Welcome back. Rather, he is also our lecturer for economic crimes. So very familiar face. Very. I hope you feel at home at the Faculty of Law, but not too comfortable. You are, after all, an economist. The second is Dr. Mahatma Windrawan Inanta. Dr. Inanta is currently a Deputy Director of Market Transformation for Indonesia at the Roundtable on Sustainable Palm Oil, but he is speaking in his personal capacity. He finished his doctorate in Sustainable Development Management from Trisakti University, and he is a prominent figure in the field of sustainability in Indonesia, recognized for his leadership in promoting responsible development and sustainable environmental management. Very fitting speaker for our theme. Dr. Mahatma Windrawan Inanta, please join me at the stage. Our third speaker is Ms. Iweng Karsiwen. She is currently the chair of the Indonesian migrant workers family, Kabar Bumi. She is a former domestic worker in Hong Kong with more than 10 years of experience. And she is currently continuing her legal education at Universitas Terbuka. And we're very happy to see someone so passionate and someone so involved in activism continuing their legal study. Ibu Iweng, please join me at the stage. Last but not least, someone who has been very familiar for us at the Master in Laws program at UGM. She is Dr. Sriwiyanti Ediono, and she is our chairperson, our director of the Master in Laws program, the reason why this conference happens at all. And she is a influential academic, feminist lawyer, researcher, and a law and gender scholar. She is currently the center. I'm not done, but wait, you are so illustrious. She is the chairperson of the Law, Gender, and Society Research Group, and she was the inaugural head of our anti-sexual abuse task force at the university. So she is the reason why we have fewer abusers as our professors. So big warm round of applause for Ibu I. Yay. Now, okay, so all of the presentations are already at the laptop, and the order of presentation is as such. So we will begin with Pak Rimawan, and after that I will continue with Pak Win, continuing on with Mbak Iweng, and finally a concluding observation and a concluding lecture by Ibu I. Without further ado, I would like to welcome Pak Rimawan to the dais to deliver his keynote address. I think 15 minutes, Pak Rimawan, yes.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, everybody, and thank you for inviting me to be in this event. It is very pleasure for me to present my paper. So this paper is basically, we're trying to show the complexity of how to work together within ASEAN, particularly in tackling serious crime. I don't want to talk about the conventional crime like theft and things like that, but I think that's something that's very more important is actually on serious crime. As we all know, the serious crime is related to the corruption, money laundering, including illegal fishing and also illegal mining and etc. There's something that's related to the organized crime. Next. Next, please. Yeah. So this is the situation in ASEAN. So if we see this, we can see at a glance about the heterogeneity of the ASEAN members. It's related to the demography and also the legal system. And I think, I'm sorry to say that we are the Indonesian, we are the one with the only one which use still common law, but it's based on Roman Dutch model, which is sometimes considered as a penal law. And this is the situation that I'm sorry to say that as an economist, I always criticize my colleague from law school. Why? Because 28 years ago, we done reformation. It started in 1998. The only sector that hasn't been reformed is actually law. We still use 1811 penal law, which is more Dutch than the Dutch. Even the Dutch, they don't use it any longer. Are we in the independent state as yet? I don't think so. We are independent physically, but mentally, it seems to me, we are not independent at all. Then we will see later on, the complexity because of this. Okay, now let's move to the ASEAN. Now, so this is the situation that is very interesting because the ASEAN is it's related to the we have Asian 5, and then it was developed in 1967, but it takes about 11 years, to 9 years to have the first summit. Why? Because this area is actually similar to the Western European. What is that? They're fighting each other in the old days. So within 9 years, that's actually what they've done. They're trying to breaking the ice, playing golf together and that kind of stuff. Okay, but then this is the situation that the one on the right-hand side, the motto is very interesting. One vision, one identity, one community. But ASEAN is totally different from EU. Many people thought that, well, will it be possible for ASEAN to be EU, like they have like a single currency? Many people are very optimistic, but unfortunately, I inform you that I'm very skeptical about that. Why? Because we have within the ASEAN, this is what I call the principle is called the ASEAN way. What does it mean, the ASEAN way? Means that every single country, they still can keep their sovereignty beyond above the ASEAN. So they can do whatever they like. So in these circumstances, that's of course, it's just impossible for us to foresee any possibility that we have common rule or common regulation in ASEAN. Because when they said, this is the ASEAN way, this is my sovereignty, and I don't want to be ruled out with this, bye-bye. Okay, so, okay, let's see the next one. So this is the heterogeneity in the ASEAN countries. So we can see we have Singapore, the top one. It's like developed countries, but then the rest, and also Malaysia at the second, but then the rest is still developing countries. So this is the mixture that is not easy to tackle actually. Next. So if we have ASEAN economic community, then actually, okay, that we have a common market. There is a possibility of common market, but if you talk about economic union, forget it. Why? Because of the ASEAN way. So ASEAN way to me is no way actually. Because we cannot go anywhere. We cannot go further than the common market. More than common market, it's just impossible. Because you need to have a single regulation that's actually rule across the ASEAN, like in EU, but not for us. Now, okay. So what is the complexity here? So this one will show us the complexity within the EU and ASEAN. If a country would like to join the EU, then they have to conform first with the Eurostat. So the statistic is the most important thing. They have to mainstream the statistical recording from the EU. And then afterward, they can start to join. This is part of the condition to join the EU. But what would happen with the ASEAN? No, you join the ASEAN first, because this one is more on political things. And then afterward, they said about, the ASEAN Stat. So the ASEAN Stat is come later. Is there any opportunity to mainstream the way the data can be administered? No way. So this is a crucial things that we have. So what the economic theory said, okay, next one, that actually what we're trying to create is the general one, yeah. this general formation. Everybody linked to everybody. EU is using the star one, which is in which the central one is the EU. So if we're talking about the ASEAN way, then we come up with the miscoordination problem, actually. So this is a very fundamental problem that we have in ASEAN. Next one. So take a look on the source of the information. In Eurostat, for instance, they don't care about the structure of their statistical office. The most important thing is that you can get the data from the source of the data. Yeah. Whereas in ASEAN, we give emphasis more on the statistical office, not the source of the data. In Indonesia, for instance, it's true that the source of data for us is the PPS. But what would happen in other countries? It is not necessarily like that. If we have a coordination with Singapore, for instance, many of the data, which is very, important data, is actually not belonged by the Statistical Bureau of in Singapore, but that belongs to particular university. For instance, like NUS, they created the database, NTU created the database, and do ASEAN has reached them? No. Okay, so we have the asymmetric problem in here. So let me move to the 12. Okay, next one. So this is the problem. If we have, of course, we have the serious crime. If we're trying to implement the serious crime reduction, it starts from illegal fishing, human trafficking, fuel and drug smuggling, armed trafficking, corruption, money laundering, online gambling, illegal online lending, for instance, then this will be challenging in ASEAN, if we cannot say impossible. Yeah. Because of what? Because one principal rule that's called the ASEAN way. Okay, let's move to the next one. So here I'll show you another complexity that we have is the role of the informal sector. Okay, next. So next, please. Next again, all of them. Okay, so this is a typical problem in developing countries, and it's not only in Indonesia, but it's also in other countries, particularly in developing countries. So there are only three major problems. What is that? We don't know our enemy and we don't know ourselves. You may ask a question, how can you say that we don't know ourselves? It's simple. Do we have single identity number? Yes. Since when? We start to develop in 2009, but in 2017, we show that the single identity numbers has been corrupted by the case of Setia Novanto, right? And since then, they keep developing, but then we haven't finished as yet. So if you don't know about the who's who in Indonesia, is it possible for you to rule the government effectively? The answer is actually no. 2,500 years ago, Sun Tzu said, if you know your enemies and know yourself, you will never be in peril in 100 battles. But if you don't know your enemy nor yourself, you will be peril in every single battle. This is the situation that we have. The second one is the role of the informal sector is huge in Indonesia. Okay, so this is the difference between formal sector and the informal sector. Before this, please. No, before this. Back to the number 14 now. Okay. So the last one, the third problem that we have is the institutional aspect. It's just like a cheese. Yeah, there's lots of loopholes in there. Next one. So I just want to show this is the statistic in terms of the role of the informal sector in ASEAN. Next one. Okay. Next. Now, this one is very important, so we can see that actually it said in here that the 60.51% of the GDP of Indonesia is actually supported by the medium, small, and micro enterprises. 97 percent of the workforce absorption is actually from there. The bad news is that 52.5% of the MSME are informal. So if you make a simple calculation, so it's about 35 until 40% of our GDP is actually supported by informal sector. If the sector, most of the sector are informal, the big question is that how the transmission of the economic policy to the performance of economy. It's very difficult. Why? It's simple, because the transmission of any economic policy is start from the formal sector. Next, I just want to jump to 21. Yeah. Okay, in 21, please. Okay, this, I show it to you, the structure of financial sector. So even in financial sector, for instance, we also have formal institution and informal institution. And the one that I put plus in there, what is that? Cooperative-based microfinance. Why is it that I put plus? Because there is no data. This is the PPT from 2010. At that time, we researched about the OJK, and we asking about who supervise cooperative-based microfinance. The number that we get is 78,000. But do we know the real number? We don't know. At that time, I start praying to God, would you give me the statistic of the data of the, what is that? Cooperative-based microfinance, because only God who knows that. Unfortunately, until now, my prayer hasn't been answered. Yeah. This is the problem. Yeah. Next one. So this one I'll give you the complexity in here. So if you heard about KUR, Kredit Usaha Rakyat, for instance, don't misunderstood. Many people thought that the KUR will be given to the tukang bakso like this, you know, the bakso guy. In fact, he's not bankable. KUR, it's always be from banking sector. Now, I give you illustration. In order to be, if you are, for instance, if you have a cattle, yeah, cow, for instance, how many cow minimums that you will be entitled to get KUR? I call it between 50 to 60 cows. Who has 50 to 60 cows? Rich man. What would happen if you want to have chicken? At least you need 15,000. Oh yes, 15,000. Is that for small, you know, for poor people? No. So KUR is not for poor people. Then we have some of the complexity here. We have the various type of informal financial institution. We have Mendring, we have Bank Titel, Bank Plecet, and etc. Yeah, Shark Loan. And why is it that they are so famous? It's simple, because the transaction cost is very minimum. What about the interest rate? They have what I call nilai-nilai. Nilai-nilai is a Javanese word, so I translate it to be the rule of 13. What does it mean, the rule of 13? You borrow 100%, you return 130%. So there are only two questions that you need to ask: how much and when. That's why they have a transaction in the middle of the night. They don't have any problem, because they can give, okay, how much, when will you return? That's it. So what about the interest rate? The interest rate is common knowledge. Everybody knows. Yeah. Okay, so goes to the next one. Now, this one is related to the heterogeneity. Heterogeneity of the institution. Next. So this one is the quality of the institution. If we can see, you know, this comparison. Let's go to the 28. So we can say that in ASEAN we have some problem, because the quality of the institution is varies. Now, there's a research by Acemoglu and Robinson who get Nobel laureate in economics. He said that the source of welfare from a particular country has nothing to do with the natural resources. Nothing to do with natural resources, but it's something to do with institution and human capital. Now, there are two things that we don't have in Indonesia: human capital and the institution. Let's compare between Indonesia and Malaysia. Malaysia ratified UNCAC 5 years after us. It was late for Malaysian, but Malaysian did remarkable thing in 2018 by they did amendment to the MACC Act, and they include the private sector corruption. Indonesia, on the other hand, we had an Anti-Corruption Act in 1999. We ratified UNCAC in 2003, and then surprisingly, in 2019, we amended of a KPK Act which crippled the KPK. So we have KPK, which was best practice during 2004 and 2019, and our politician, all of the political parties agreed to cripple the KPK. Excellent, everybody. Excellent job. So if we're talking about evidence-based policy, we are the anomaly of the evidence-based policy. Thanks God, I involved in two task force. That the task force is so effective, but then because of so effective, the government do not want to continue. First is the Satgas 115 or Task Force 115, anti-illegal fishing, hasn't been continue after 2019. And the second one is GNPSDA by KPK. Again, that task force hasn't been continue afterward. Okay, goes to the number 31. Thank you. So this is we have what I call the unregulated corruption. Excuse me, sorry, can we move back to number 30, please? Before that, okay. So we have what I call unregulated corruption. This is a type of the recommendation by the UNCAC, but we never ever implement in Indonesia. First, private sector corruption. Second, illicit enrichment. Third, the foreign bribery and the trading of influence. Next. So what is the impact? This is the impact. The impact is creating the business environment dirty. Why? Because of the interaction between regulated and unregulated corporation. Okay. Remember the case of Ergelino, for instance. It's to me, it's wrecking because it's he has to need to wait 5 years because of the evidence, and the evidence cannot be issued by the Chinese government. And in the end, what the law enforcer here has to dismantle the crane and then estimate the value of the crane based on the spare part. Why? Because there is no reply from the Chinese government. This is just one of the examples. Okay, next. This is the situation between the asymmetric supervision of corporation between the state-owned enterprise and private companies. We're talking about 8 versus 3 or 9 versus 3. In terms of the regulation, the state-owned enterprise has to fulfill 8 regulation in comparison to private corporation, whereas in terms of the institution who supervise, there are 9 institutions for state-owned enterprise, but then it's only 4 for private companies. Next one. This is the research by the Cuervo Cazura. That's actually, it's give us very strong message. So investor from high corruption countries, they tend to invest in high corruption countries.
Maybe 3 more minutes, Pa.
Okay, thank you. Similarly to the low corruption countries, they will invest in low corruption, the investor will goes to the low investor country. So this is a situation that we have. Okay, let me show you the statistic that we developed from our database. So 59% of the corruption in Indonesia is actually being done by the private sector. However, when you check the court decision, yeah, this is the financial punishment. If you are working in a state-owned enterprise, you may get 70 to 80% of any money that you take, and that will become of your fines and also any other financial punishment. But if you are in private companies, you only pay 8 to 9%. Okay, so this is the situation. So why is it this one is happening? Because of this. Next one. This is the difference. The way we enforce the law is myopic in Indonesia. So we only focus on the main regulation. This is totally different from the in OECD or in developed countries that we have a comprehensive law enforcement. Okay, there was a case of a corruption that I became the expert witness, and it just made me difficult. At that time, there was a company who did the corruption, and then of course, we estimate the impact to the economy, the social cost of corruption, and also the removal of illegal gain. And by the time we're trying to collect the information about the how much is it the illegal gain, we asked to the prosecutor, do you have the data for the annual report? The answer is that no. So the company has board of the director, board of commissioner, they have permit, but they don't have annual report. Surprisingly, surprise, surprise, they pay tax every year. So where the tax coming from if you don't have annual report? This is the situation. Yeah. So if you see that the related regulation, we never put any concentration or pay attention on related regulation. We only focus on the main regulation. So the way we think is still partial and myopic. Now, I don't want to continue this. I think that's we can continue with the discussion. The rest of my presentation is related to the anti-IUUF, yeah. But then I think we can discuss later. So thank you very much. I'll return to moderator. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pak Rimawan. I actually did not want that presentation to end, Pak, because it's you were part of the illegal fishing task force, so that was kind of like the meat of that discussion, and it's always so refreshing to see to hear flaws in our legal system, and no one is claiming that our legal system is perfect, but like it's always very refreshing to hear that coming from a non-lawyer, because it shows that law needs to take into account these extraneous but related factor. I am very much fascinated by not only so heterogeneity exists. You began your presentation with ASEAN, but then you also ended up whittling down to Indonesia and demonstrated to us that heterogeneity existed even within the institutions and infrastructures of corruption of the country. Adding to that, we have a lack of regulation and asymmetric supervision of corruption. So if any of our students here are interested in, I'm not saying interested in corruption, interested in eradicating corruption, then you have plenty to work on. Okay, thank you very much, Pa Rimawan, for your presentation. Next, we will continue with Dr. Muhammad Windrawan Inanta with his presentation. I think the presentation is already in the slide, in the computer. And Pak Win, you may begin when you're ready.
Thank you, Mas Rangga. And I need to make a disclaimer before, yeah. I'm speaking here on my personal account, not the RSPO account, because if we heard Rimawan, yeah, presentation about the corruption mainly done by the private sector, so you may also aware that 3 of RSPO members now is implicated in the corruption case. So I will mainly talk from my academic background. Thank you for inviting me. I'm Windrawan, so I'm working for the sustainability for I don't know, almost more than 15 years. Luckily, this morning I met with several colleagues, Dr. Josie Katarina. We worked together when I was with the Nature Conservancy at that time, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, 7, 8. I'm also very happy to see Anna, Dr. Herliana. She's my, old friend. And eventually we only see this morning after, I don't know, 20 years? Yeah, from 25. So very happy, and I feel that law faculty is also a lot of friends working here. Denny Indrayana, late Sigit Trianto, also close friend of mine. Well, can we project the?
Yes. Can we?
Yeah.
I think you should download that first, and then.
Yeah, I put it in PDF because usually
Yeah.
PowerPoint there will be.
I think that's
some.
more helpful, but
Yeah.
it just needs to be downloaded, and then
Yeah.
if it's downloaded.
So our topic today is the voluntary sustainability standard as instruments for ecological and economic justice. Very surprising for me that I'm invited to be a speaker at the Faculty of Law because, I don't have any relation or background in law, but I can see this as an opportunity to enrich the colleagues in the working in the law sector to be understand what's really business is doing, and there are also other, I would say, private driven law that exists and how we can work together. Yeah, still having difficulties in projecting my PDF. It's okay. I think over the next 15 minutes, I will be talking about 3 things. First one is we need to agree on what is really voluntary sustainability standard, so VSS. The second one is that we will also discuss about connecting the VSS to the legal and due diligence framework. And the third one is test the justice claim with evidence. What I mean here is that how we can provide evidence of the impact, for example, the VSS like RSPO. So the I think this is second slide, yeah. So why VSS matter and cross-commodity landscape? No, coming back to the second one. Yeah, it's okay, thank you. So voluntary sustainability standard is a privately developed standard. Privately developed standard usually in connection with sustainability, in connection with incentive from the market, rules that agreed to set the environmental, social, economic standard of any commodities. Palm oil is not alone. It's not unique to palm oil. If you know, in soy, kedelai, yeah, in soy we have also RTRS, Roundtable on Responsible Soy. You may also know FSC. It's Forest Stewardship Council. This is for the forestry products, including paper. I don't know if you are using FSC certified papers here. I don't think so because it's expensive and it's not easy to get the supplier of certified FSC. Cotton also have their own VSS called Better Cotton Initiative, BCI. You also know Fair Trade. Rainforest Alliance, if you know Rainforest Alliance, with the picture of a frog. Yeah, the certification with frog in it. They said it's not frog, it's toad. Okay, it's It's kodok, I would say. So if you see in coffee or in tea that bear this frog logo, it means that it's certified by Rainforest Alliance. So all of this, without any government involvement, there is no, I would say, public law, law that produced by the government, that can be enforced by the government. But this is all initiative coming from private sector. Coming back to Pak Rimawan presentation, that corruption mainly done by private sector, that's something that makes me wake up this morning. Why this VSS matter? You know, I think next slide. Yeah, this matter because the consequences of any companies that already member or certified by anything, including RSPO for palm oil, they have consequences. Consequences can be positive and can also be negative. The positive one, I would say, they maybe get some incentive. You know, they will get premium price. They will get market access. But consequences on the other side of this game is that they also need to bind by the this private regulation that sometimes and most of the cases, the standard even higher than the standard set by the government. Yeah. For example, in RSPO, we have this standard on pit. So member of RSPO, they cannot develop in pitland, regardless the depth. Yeah. But in government regulation, almost the same, cannot develop in pitland, but there is another phrase saying that above 3 meters. So we still can develop in pitland, you know, pitland, yeah, lahan gambut. We still can develop if the pit in that area is less than 3 meters. So who honor that, you know, can say that in this area is 3 meters depth, in that maybe in 10 meters or 2 meters, you know. So it, even the...
So is it cannot develop for less than 3 meters or more than 3 meters?
More than 3 meters. So still allowed up to 3 meters. Yeah. So that's the example how we connect the, you know, how we look at the VSS compared with the public law, yeah, public regulation, and probably due diligence. If you know now, it's very famous or infamous, the EUDR, yeah, European Union Deforestation Regulation. We have here Pak Thomas, yeah, from Germany, that we had a small chat this morning about UDR. So I think the legal backbone that we need to look is that the UN Guiding Principle. So we have this UNGP, but on business and human rights. So UNGP also require the companies to respect, yeah, states, negara, states to protect, companies to respect, and both states and company, they also have to ensure the access to remedy. Very, very strong, I would say, international regulation here. It's from the UN. So coming back to the markets like EU, you know, we know UDR, European Union Deforestation Regulation. Regulation in EU, meaning that all states member of EU, they have to apply this. You know, there is no excuse. On the other hand, they also have the EU directive. Directives mean, well, okay, if you like this, you can implement. Otherwise, you know, just use your own national regulation. Yeah, Pak Thomas, that's correct. Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah. Uh, so if we look at Indonesia, in Indonesia we have coming back to palm oil. RSPO, we are coming from private sectors. RSPO, we have been around for more than 20 years, since 2004, and it's I would say an association based on membership. The members coming from different sector of palm oil, from upstream to downstream. But on the other hand, Indonesia, we have our own standard. So Indonesian sustainable palm oil standard. I think just this early this year, we have Presidential Regulation number 16, 2024. So I start to talk like a lawyer because I refer to regulation here. But again, the question of this kind of regulation coming back to the role of the government. Is it really necessary for government to have this kind of standard? And for your information, ISPO is also the certification. So, should government also, enact this kind of standard, forcing the industry to follow the standard and getting certified? That's something that we need to discuss, because usually certification coming from private sector with market incentive, financial incentive, not coming from the government. The government should only, decide whatever regulation, and the certification should refer to that regulation. So there is, less, I would say, less interest for the government to have their own standard for certification. If we have standard certification for palm oil, why Indonesia we don't have a standard for coffee, for rubber, for any kind of tea, for example? We don't have. You know why? This discussion can be very long, and maybe need 2 SKS in one semester. So I just stop here for the ISPO. Yeah. So this is the ISPO. EU regulation is from the government. So all of this is more, connected to the public law, I would say. So next. Again, I will go for the ISPO. The claim of the government, ISPO is not, tightened. And one important thing, ISPO is mandatory. Yeah, compare with RSPO that we are voluntary certification. ISPO is mandatory. So every palm oil plantation in Indonesia, they should go for ISPO certification. Again, the question coming back to the whether the government needs to, set the standard and mandate it, certification for palm oil company. Okay, so as I will not say oppose, but on the other hand, RSPO, we have also the new principle and criteria to 2024. Because RSPO, we need to review and update our standard every 5 years. Okay, so this certification regulation needs to be updated every 5 years. So the if we look at RSPO, it's again, this is harder than ISPO. No deforestation, no pit. No excuses, for PIT, HCV, HCS, high conservation value, high carbon stocks, FPIC, grievance and remedy. Grievance and remedy is very important one also, because RSPO we can decide, to suspend one or two of our member because violation of the principle and criteria of RSPO. So we even that RSPO is coming from the private sector, we have the ability to enforce, the decision, because there's money behind it. If a company, they suspend from membership or from certification, they will stop to produce certified sustainable palm oil, and the implication is that they will not get the incentive, they will not get the premium price. So company will think in that way, that if they violate, and they will lose opportunity to get financial benefits. Economic impact of palm oil, of course, we are talking about smallholders. Pak Rimawan also pointed out that 60% of our GDP coming from informal SMEs. In RSPO, I think maybe 30 to 40% of palm oil production coming from smallholders. So, RSP also, we are working to increase smallholder picture, in sustainable palm oil at international level. We also certified smallholders, but again, all of the challenges that Pak Rimawan presented is also happening in palm oil sector, Pak. So, it's something that we need to work together. For example, I can give a case of smallholders in Kalimantan. Yeah, they're committed to sustainability. They want to be RSPO certified, but they don't have money. So who will provide the the first capital to enter certification? And it can cost up to 200 million rupiah. Yeah, so RSPO provide the the incentive. Some of NGOs also working to certify the smallholders, and after certified, they can sell credits. RSPO credits. It's just like carbon credits. So every ton they produce fresh fruit bunches, they will get 1 credit. Sorry, 1 ton of TPS. So one ton of CPO, usually coming from 5 tons of fresh fruit bunches. They got 1 credit that they can sell. Now the price of this premium of this incentive can be up to $20. So, but still, we need to support them for the first step to enter the certification process.
Maybe 2 minutes, Pak.
2 minutes. Oh my God. So the evidence. So next. Well, I also share the full articles of my presentation, so you can ask Isna, so you can go more into details and look for the references to double check it. I would say the RSPO certified areas, this is not from RSPO, yeah. I refer to scientific journal articles, not from RSPO, that RSPO certified areas associated with lower deforestation compared to similar non-certified areas. Yeah. Peat and fires, the result is mixed, we need to look at the data into more details, but we also have the natural causes that we cannot control, like El Nino, the poor land using planning, land use planning. Again, this is the government part. The greenhouse gas emission, this is very important one. That certified palm oil can have 1/3 lower of GHG emission per kilogram of CPO. So, you know, it's again, this is not coming from RSPO. This is coming from peer-reviewed article. At the more macro level, palm oil consists of 3 to 4% of our GDP. It's very high compared with other sectors. You know. We still have challenges like smallholders, how to finance them. Like I said, the last slide, please. So I will suggest, yeah, some of the from the experience working for this VSS is that certification is a very helpful proof, but this is not a free pass. I mean that if people say that, okay, I'm certified, we need to check, and certification cannot become the, you know, shield, tameng. We cannot say that. We also need to make the data easy to read and share. In my full articles, I'm also talking about how ISPO and RSPO can work together, you know, to share data, you know, to exchange technical knowledge that we each other have. The important one also is that if you see on the number 3, the create real buyer demand, because sustainability, usually we are working on the incentive-based scheme. People will not go for sustainability without any tangible incentive, tangible premium. So they will ask, where is the money? You know, because we are working more compared with non-certified companies in any industry, in any commodities. So make sure that we have a real buyer demand. Otherwise, buyer demands can also be coming from the government, the state-owned companies, you know, public procurement by government. Probably government can also put, I don't know, ISPO or RSPO for their procurement requirement to buy cooking oil, for example. You know, that very simple one. We need to also avoid the green claims, greenwashing. You know, it's very important because once VSS, you know, accused of greenwashing and there is proof, so the credibility of this VSS will be, you know, trust down. People will stop to believe in that kind of scheme. So to summarize this, that VSS, I think, can deliver justice, but it needs to be combined with public law. You know, the one, you know, law by the government. You know, and what we expect is that with this kind of combination, so this voluntary can be stronger, so it will be support each other, and the government, the public law can also use or, you know, embrace to the new higher standard developed by the private sector. I think I'll stop here. Thank you, and look forward for the discussion.
Thank you very much, Pak Windrawaninanta, for your presentation. You're talking about a very an extra legal initiative that could enhance and strengthen our. You mentioned specifically public law, and I'm fascinated by the fact that it is voluntary, which means that it is a system based on good faith. And there is that radical optimism there that corporations will be able to fulfill this, provided that there is proper incentives in the law. So the law in its current form needs to accommodate that by giving proper incentives in pursuit of sustainability goals. Thank you, Pa. Very, very fascinating. Moving on, I will call upon our next speaker, Ibu Iweng Karsiwen, Mbak Iweng Karsiwen aja saya mungkin manggilnya ya Mbak ya, Mbak Iweng, which she will be giving a presentation titled Economic Justice in Transition, Navigating Inequality, Sustainability, and Legal Reform. So as you can see, our presentation, in terms of their themes, they narrow down really systematically, whereas the first one, Pak Rimawan talks about ASEAN-wide issues, whereas Pak Win specifically talks about instruments with which we can reach economic and particularly ecological justice, and in this case, Mbak Iweng will be talking about economic justice in transition in accordance with her experience in activism and now as a law student. Without further ado, Mbak Iweng, the floor is yours.
Okay, hoping you can, but I will elaborate with the best evidence on our research, of course. It's not only my own stories. Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for UGM to give this opportunity to attending this important forum. I know Mbak Ik is so long time, for many years. We also has working together in some research. So thank you to be here again on Kabar Bumi to speak for our experience as a migrant workers contexting talking about economic justice. Okay, actually in 2000, I give up my scholarships to work abroad because my sister was ill. Before she working in Singapore and support my study, so as an elder sibling, I'm also has to bear the responsibility supporting my families for the income. Actually, I come from Cilacap, the second biggest number sending area of Indonesian migrant workers in Central Java. Cilacap is small industry city with the many of the It's there is many plant factories and other factories, but because of the many of cause of the land grabbing, so many of the in Cilacap citizen going abroad, and with the low education, no many people can get a good job around, so we are forced to migrate, including me. Some of my female neighborhood has gone to domestic workers as a majority migrant workers going to Singapore, Malaysia, and Saudi Arabia. Actually, until today, by the law, migrant workers is mandatory using agency. They work together with broker. They make overseas work easily accessible, but at the price, we were charged fee, given a little information and pushed into job by necessary, not choices. Actually, my story is not unique. Millions of Indonesian migrant workers face similar exploitation. I didn't want to go through to the same thing again, nor did I want to fellow Indonesian to experience the same thing. I then become active in an organization that study migrant workers policy and learn much about the rights of migrant workers. We in organization found that there were many problems rising from policies in Indonesia and the host country. But what contribute more is the problem was from our home country. Actually, this is mandatory policy cause many problem, such we are mandatory going to the training center. We are mandatory to give the original document, all of our documents such as ID card, family card, education certification, birth certification. So also this is also a bit discriminated. Maybe will in relate with Mbak Iyik presentation, because majority are women, especially for the women who are going abroad. We have to present the recommendation letter from husband or father, because a woman is not has choices, so has to be approved or agreement by the father or husband. So many of us in training center, including me, also experience signing many documents without get any copies and read before the sign, and then also falsification data. Actually, in my era on 1999, the age should be 21 above, but I was 19. So you can see there is also falsification from 19 to 21 years old. And we only learn how to language training. We also experience coerced contraception, especially for the woman. This woman again, targeting a woman. That's all of the women migrant workers, majority has experienced coerced contraception without any permission or exploitation. What the impact for the bodies of the woman when they get contraception for the long period. Based on our research also, that some of their single that's still 17 years old, they also injected with the contraception in the training agency. And then also, there is also no information about the rights, culture, and placement country and safety work. This is on my story. Before in 2000, it's not like now that many people has mobile phone, have to access information about the overseas. I didn't know nothing about Hong Kong because I go to Hong Kong and I don't know that Hong Kong has a winter. I didn't bring any winter clothes in my suitcase. And when I entered Hong Kong on 2000 on January, which is very cold, 5 degree, I was ill that time because I don't bring any clothes. So this is also the situation in the placement country. Maybe next slide, please. Okay. So until today, even I have experienced the deduction salary on 2000, yet until today, also many of the Indonesian migrant workers also experience deduction salary. In working in Taiwan, we have to deduct 9 until 13 months, in Singapore 7 months, in Malaysia 2 months, even though already has MOU with Indonesian and Malaysia government that employers should pay the placement fee, but in the practice, the migrants still pay for 2 months deduction salary, and in Hong Kong for 6 months, and from Japan and also from Korea is really, they have to pay cash around 100 million rupiah. So many of us is also based on our my experience, I was underpaid. My salary have to 3,670, but I only receive 1,800. I have no holiday. I'm also it's mandatory to live in with the employer. So look like 24 hours on call. Whatever the employer wants, then we have to prepare, because it's really different with one workers to other workers. Example, to take care of the elderly, we have to steady up morning until night. Even also take care of the baby. So we also experience inadequate accommodation. Me, for the first 4 months, because I don't have money, all money, my salary have bring to agency to paying the agency fees, and I don't have money. I'm living for far away, and my employer is very rapidly staying at home, so no food in the fridge. So many of my neighborhood, Indonesian neighborhood, is helping support me to giving food, because I have no food for 4 months. So I'm living with supporting by my Indonesian fellow in my in the nearby employer houses. Also, we also facing a discrimination and xenophobia, especially when pandemic. Many of us become you are the one bringing the COVID So always cannot allow us to go to off day, but always allow us to go into market. So what the difference? For their needs, we have to out, but for our rights, they didn't let us go. So many of Indonesian migrant workers in different country, we have no holiday during COVID-19. So, but based of the many cases we experience, many problem we experience, Indonesian migrant workers actually we are pillar of the national economic growth, because we are support the second biggest contributor to the foreign exchange, and this is after oil and gas. In 2024, total remittance is 153.77 billion rupiah. So this is also stated by the government during 2022. We are also the hero of the pandemic because of our support for the remittance. The economic are still going on. So, but not only for our home country, we also support the economic of the destination country. Based on the research in Hong Kong, migrant workers are giving 12.72 USD billion. It look like 3.6% GDP. And then in Singapore, 8.28 billion USD. And in Malaysia, 904.7 million USD. So this is very big money. And then remittance are so important because of very important. Since 2013, World Bank has been discussing remittance and development. So even they created a strategy of remittance and remittance on guided by following sustainable development goals, SDGs, including 1, reducing remittance costs, 2nd, increasing the volume of remittance, and then 3rd, encourage the diaspora to invest to their home countries to help development in developing countries. So this is also being target now, so it might be later on 2030 after SDGs. We don't know again the name because first is MDGs, we actually is not achieving the goal and then change the name to the SDGs, and then I don't know after 2030 with the new target of the migrant workers become one of the supporters for the developing country. And then this is also but actually, the remittance, we also have research, work together with Alberta University. Actually, we have done research survey for 1,020 person, Filipino and Indonesian. We done 192 interview with the, actually, the finding, 59% migrant workers work in Hong Kong is work than 45 hour per week. And then majority the remittance is used by the family, actually 80% for food. And then 71% for education and family member. And then only 5.8% for business investment. So this is really contrast with the we call with the needs or wants by World Bank or the government that's migrant for development. But you can see the uses is not only for investment, because many of the positive storytelling by some government that if you are migrant, please also you have to learn how to use the money, keep it an investment, and open the small business or entrepreneurship in Indonesia. But what will happen? We still, even 11 years working, my friends return again to overseas to work. Because what? Because we only use the money for food, education, and also for other needs of the daily needs. So this is also demonstrates the reason why migrant workers tend to remigrate. Many migrant workers work for years in their host country, but when they return home, they can only stay for a few months before going back abroad. Many children of migrants even follow their mother to work overseas. Now, we can also, in example, look like in Hong Kong, in Victoria Park, is a look like niece, auntie, mother, children are gathering in the park because we are family migrants. And so this is include my family also. My sister was migrant, and now my younger sister also still in Hong Kong. So, so that's the situation. But despite of that, the lack of the protection still insists until today. Based on our cases, we handling for 2015 to 2024, we handling 2,941 cases. This actually only by Kabar Bumi, but many organizations is also handling. But it's very unique because when I check the report of the National Bodies of Protection of Indonesian Migrant Workers, they only receiving case 114. But we are receiving more than 1,000 cases. So this is and they said, oh, now people are raising their awareness, so they have no problem. So this is a really question mark for us. And
Sorry, Mbak Iweng, maybe 2 minutes? 2 minutes.
okay, so for that learning lesson from my experience, so we know that we have to achieve our goals through continuous struggle and by maintaining economic sustainability so that we can continue to survive to our own country. Therefore, we are continue to organize ourselves. We are organizing in Kabar Bumi. We doing organizing, education and socialization campaign and raising public awareness. Also research and economic empowerment. Also, we also doing the handling cases. Maybe for the full version of my story, I already give to the committee, we can share. But here I want to also give thank you to all of the supporters of Mary Jane Veloso, because after 10 years, we are campaigning to free her. She already back to Manila. Even she's still in the jail, but at least she's not facing death penalty here in Indonesia. So, and then also, what are our challenging for the economic justice? Actually, until today, economic justice remain very difficult for us to achieve, as we are unemployed and underemployed individual forced to work abroad because our country cannot provide decent job opportunities. We receive no protection in the host country. Upon returning home, we have no guarantee of a decent livelihood. So this is my last presentation, my recommendation. Actually, with the new of the Ministry of Protection of Indonesian Migrant Workers, we hope they can improve protection policies, law enforcement, and access to justice to the easily accessible to migrant workers and their family in rural area. Also, we also need support from the academe here to have a publication of the finding on the condition of the migrant workers. Academe university will be more readily and accepted by the policymaker because of the base of the data and fact, and this will be great help to us. We also need to research collaborator with grassroots organizations such ours based on participation approach. Look like we are already done with the UGM, hoping we can continue again this opportunity to work together. And last, my words, economic justice for us means decent work with decent wages in our own country without having to be separated from our beloved family. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much, Mbak Iweng. And again, a very moving account of not only your experience, but also how we could move forward and then move on from situations of systemic discrimination and violation, starting from not only migrant work a training center all the way to the placement country. And I want to highlight also one of the first things that you highlighted as a key to equality is organizing, and this is where mutual help with the community. And while this is, well, I agree that it is a very important key element, but this shows how absent our state is. And when the state is absent, we really do only have each other. So that's key to equality. Thank you very much, Mbak Ewing. Second largest contributor to the national economy after oil and gas. That is preposterous. That is insane. I mean, like, I am so shocked by that, but that's amazing. Okay, last but not least, I will invite our final speaker, Ibu Sri Wiyanti Idiono, who will deliver a presentation about entitled Inclusive Legal Reform for Gender Equality, Disability, and Social Inclusion, Addressing Structural Inequalities in the Southeast Asian Context. Mbak Yi, the floor is yours.
Or good morning, everyone. Today I will try to present my points on inclusive legal reforms for gender equality, disability, and social inclusion, addressing structural inequality. I tried to have a look at to the Southeast Asian context because, to be honest, I was stuck. I was have a block when I want to prepare these presentations. Yeah, I have been working with gender issues since 1993. Yeah, I have working with the legal reforms, yeah, since 1997. But now I'm questioning my activisms. I'm questioning about the legal reforms and how far the legal reform actually bring impact to our society. So, but I tried to mapping. I'll give you some point of views. I use some paper, some report from different institutions. I tried to reflect it through my own experiences. Okay, so maybe we can start. Yes. So I have three aspects that I want to discuss today. The first one. Why we need to discuss about gender inequality in Southeast Asia. I think three aspects that I will re-emphasize is one is the level of gender inequality, which is very severe. And then the second one, laws. What is the law's contribution? Laws are fundamentals to and prerequisite for gender equality, but their implementation is very weak. And the third one, it discusses about the intersectionality, which is very important, but not yet recognized as legal framework comprehensively. And then the last one, I will give a recommendations. Next. So if we look at to the Southeast Asians, it has a lot of challenge in gender equality. So Southeast Asian has made significant institutions strive toward gender equality, yet there is a data come from SIGI. I call that SIGI because I am Indonesia, but actually it's supposed to be Social Institution of Gender Index. Yeah. So Southeast Asia has score of 39 of the level of discrimination against women and girls in social institutions. So it is like in the medium and close to high, yeah? So the score is substantially higher than the global, which is the global is only 29, and the average is 15, yeah? So we are quite medium to high, yeah? So level of discrimination varies substantially across the region. Yeah, and then in our region, 70%, which represents 340 million women continue to live in the countries with high and very high level of discrimination. Okay, so that's the data, 2024. Okay, next. So if we look at the SIGI, Southeast Asian country report, yeah, it has four big issues for them to analyze why and to get the score of the discriminations. The first one is the discrimination in the family. The second one related to the restricted physical integrity. And then the third one about the access to productive and financial resources. And then the fourth one, restricted civil liberties. So when we talk about the discrimination in the family, it has four elements, that is child marriage, household responsibility, inheritance, and divorce. When we talk about restriction physical integrity, it discusses about violence against women, female genital mutilation, missing women, and then reproductive autonomy. And then when we discuss about access to productive and financial resources, we talk about access to land, access to non-land assets, access to financial services, and workplace rights. And then the last one is also very interesting. It discusses about citizen rights, political voice, freedom of movement, and access to justice. So I will not evaluate all of it, but I just highlight some ideas, some figures, so that we can get to know what is happening in our region, including in Indonesia. Okay? So I will start now with discriminations in the family. Yeah? So I quote in the report, as in the rest of the world, discrimination is highest in the family sphere. Okay? How about that? There are unequal right to divorce or inheritance between men and women. There are a lot of issues of early marriage of girls, unequal rights to guardians or custody of children during and after marriage, traditional rules of men and women in the household. And I think these traditional rules actually lead into the problems faced in the workplace and public, because the gap of data, women's participation in public actually become of the root of the cause is the traditional roles of men and women in the household. And then another issue is the gender-based imbalance in the time devoted to unpaid care and domestic work. I think, or later on I will discuss about unpaid care, okay? So the problem in the legal issues is that there is a discriminatory personal status laws, which it is in the focus on or in the heart, and there are several legal restrictions that women and girls face in the family sphere. Okay. So now I think this is a very interesting, because we think that family is a good space for women. We think that family will protect women, but if you look at the data, family is the core place on discrimination. Okay, this is a very problematic space for women. So next, I want to move to discuss about families, from family to workplace. So I will quote the data from Southeast Asia's studies that women conduct 3.5 times or 3.1 times more times than men to unpaid care and domestic work, or 14% of their day compared to only 4% for men. It means that unequal job descriptions in the family is still there, where women, even though they work outside, they have to work inside the house. And then it was gap huge of number of the hours that women spend times to work family, even though they have to do work outside as well. Okay, so if you look at this data, it's very interesting that women has juggled her times, yeah, between house and public. Okay, so discriminate not only in the family, in the public, or in the workplace. The data also show that discriminatory laws and attitudes continue, yeah, to limit women's empowerment in the labor market. In 2023, across Southeast Asia, women's labor force participation stood at 57% compared to 75%. So it means that there is a gap of 18% point. So this is the data. I'm sorry, I just realized it is very small, yeah. But there are several aspects to be, evaluate in this particular data to conclude that women in economic sector is very problematic, yeah. So in here, it mentions that Southeast Asian women's participation in the labor market is lower than of men, and then it's concentrated in specific sectors. Actually, the data also mentioned by Rimawan that women are more likely 70% in informal sector, which is a very low protection, which is a very unpredictable salary and so on. So in 2022, there were 90% of employer women work as informal workers, so almost 70%, yeah, compared to men. So again, next, I also want to show you how bad the area of women working in the workplace. It's very obvious that not many or not more than 50% of women working in the high rank managing system. Yeah, in here it mentions about only 36% of managers are women, and 32 of firms are headed by women. Yeah, even though as Southeast Asians much better compared to the rest of the world, which is only 25% of women, managing the office, and 50% are headed the firm that headed by women. Now I move to discuss about what happened in the workplace with these particular figures. So usually women as a worker, because of women, they are some worker, and then some regulations in the state provide what they call that mandatory maternity leave. It means that every office have to provide mandatory paid maternity leave. Yeah, but in Asians, only 6 countries, yeah, of 15 actually have policy to give paid maternity leave. Yeah, and then only 11 countries that actually provide minimum maternity leave. 11 countries have maternity leave, but only 6 countries has 14 weeks maternity leave recommended by ILO. Yeah. And again, when they have work, whether in formal and formal sectors, of course they have opportunity to open bank account. Yeah. Even though in financial services, women are well protected, but existing legal framework actually guarantee women have the right as a man to open bank account or to obtain credits. but women have more limited access bank account. So usually, even though they open the account, get the loan, but the husband controls their bank account. Okay. Okay. So now talking about public and politics. Yeah. In Southeast Asia, there are the lack of political representations of women. So in 2023, only 22 the member of parliaments were women, averagely. And then with regard to citizen right, it is also problematic, yeah, because 11 out of 17 citizenship law do not grant women and men have the same right to confer citizenship on their spouse, yeah. So another issues, that is the women physical integrity. So women physical integrity remains severely restricted, yeah. Globally, only 57 of women aged 15 to 49 years report making their own informed decisions on sexual relations, contraception use, and reproductive health care. So this is what Iwan has mentioned. Even our migrant workers have experienced forced contraception. Yeah. So gender-based violence is also very problematic. Yeah.
Maybe 2 more minutes, Bu Yi.
Okay. So now I just want to move to the gender intersectional because they are actually important aspect. Yeah. So let's go to the gender and intersectionality. So now I move to discuss about why we have to talk about gender and then why we have to have intersectionality approach. I think throughout the history of women's movement, there is a very strong visible evidences that women's life are very diverse. The diversity of women's life and their condition is there, okay? So we cannot use gender's lens only by homogeneity of women, because in our society, when we talk about women, there are different classes, races, ethnicity, religions, age, even sexual identity, even locality, nationality. We discuss a lot about, other community. We talk about the nationality and also ability and disability. So I think we are not enough talking about gender without putting intersectionality approach. So this intersectionality is actually a framework that recognizes a long story of various forms of operations that interconnected or even overlapping system to obstruct women and to do discriminations of women. So I think this is something we have to discuss more. Before we discuss gender inequality, gender equality, now that's not enough, okay? So, for example, next, we discuss about one of aspect intersectionality, that is women's disability. I think Bu Wuri is here. I'm quite confused, Bu. I'm learning about women's with disability, okay?
Yeah.
A minute.
Welcome back to Faculty of Law, Bu Wuri Handayani. We're very happy to have you here.
Yeah. So even though people with disability, we know that there is a lot of discriminatory, unrecognized. It's very difficult to access education, health, and so on. Next, women with disability has more problems. Yeah. So women with disability experience multifaceted form of discrimination because of their women. They have negative stereotyping, attitudes in every domain of life. Yeah, they experience forced abortion, legal guardians issue, gender-based violence, equal access to health services, and lack of access of education. Next. So now I move to discuss about what about the legal reforms in Southeast Asia. I think Southeast Asia is very slow in establishing legal protections for women and its intersectionality. Okay, so most of the legal reform actually does not talking about women's. So if talking about women's, there are reluctance, yeah, to support women's movement, to discuss about protections of women's. Next. So just goes to the regulations figure 2 and 2. Yeah, next. Yeah. Here, for example, yeah, only a few, countries, that is Vietnam is more having a more protection of women worker for paternity leave, maternity leave and paternity leave. And then next, with regard to domestic worker protections, only 2 countries provide protections. Like Malaysia, we send our migrant worker to Malaysia, but Malaysia didn't recognize domestic worker as a worker. So you might aware how we send our fellow to do working in Malaysia, so they are not protected because their regulations does not mention about domestic worker protection. Okay, when we talk about anti-domestic violence, only 4 countries have it. And when we talk about anti-sexual violence, only Indonesia and Malaysia have it. Even though Malaysia is also very problematic and it's very difficult to implement for migrant workers because they are not citizens. Okay. Next, how about Indonesian context? Yeah. So Indonesian's context is also very problematic. Next, Indonesian have quite slow also in the developing gender index. Yeah. Gender inequality index of Indonesia is in the middle of other countries. So it means that Indonesia is just what we call that the 5th range higher of gender inequality. Oh God. Okay. Okay. So that is why I feel like blocked, because I feel what we can do. I have worked a lot of myself, but it's very slow. Okay. And then this gender gap index, it based on health, political participations, empowerments, women's participation in the workplace and education. Next, 2 more slides, Pak. Okay. So in Indonesia, we have severe of violence against women. From data statistic provided by Indonesian's government time to times, the first 2016, and then the second one 2021, and the third one is 2024. 1 out of 4 women with age 16 to 94 has experienced violence in their life, that is physical and sexual violence. 1 compared to 4 women, so 25%. In 2024, there were about 14.2% of women experience violence. So it's a huge number. Next. If we talk about gender equality policy, we have something. Yeah, we have anti-domestic violence, we have anti-sexual violence, but it is very slow. It's very difficult to publish it. Now we have the bill on the protection of domestic workers. Starting in 2009, 2011, until now, no pass yet. Okay? Because they don't care. This is a marginalized group, they don't care. Okay? Yeah. Next. So, why genders, disabilities, social inclusive matters? I think there are studies already mentions that GETC is very important. We talk about dignity, we talk about respect, we talk about reduce violence and harm, we talk about empowerment. I'm very happy when I listen to you. You are very proud say that migrants workers contribute a lot to our economic development. That's empowerment, right? So, and then there are studies say that whenever we empower women, whenever we protect women and encourage women, It will drive economic growth and property. So it's your turn to discuss about it later, yeah? It's actually increase productivity and innovation. It boosting GDP. It's actually to reduce poverty. It can be improving governments and also improving a better policy, health, education. So it goes to what we call that sustainable development. But traditional gender role need to be changed. Lack of recognition is very problematic, and usually GATSI is not as important issues. So the last one, recommendation. I think I refer to SIGI report, and I agree with the SIGI report. I say that there are five recommendations. The first one, it is emerge to integrate a gender lens across policy and programs with an intersectional approach, including women with disability and women with other marginalized groups. The second one, reforms laws and ensure their enforcement, because like Indonesians' experiences, we have the law already, but the implementation is very weak, yeah? And the third one, we talk about transform discriminatory social norm, which is, this is very important. And then engage men and boys. I think we have to change the discussions when we talk about gender, inequality, social inclusion and disability. It's not only women issues, guys. It's supposed to be everybody's issues, okay? And then the last one, this is what Pak Rimawan has mentioned before, data. We have not much data. In the data provided by SIGI, there are elements, there are some issues that Indonesia cannot contribute the data because we don't have clear data. So I think data, gender disaggregated, gender relevant and intersectional data and indicators is a must. So we have to establish the database for that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ibu Yi. Again, like Mbak Yueng's presentation, a harrowing set of findings. You were reflecting upon your personal decades-long work as an activist, and it does make me very pessimistic, because you mentioned gender equality is no longer enough for us. But as we all know, Indonesia is still very much trapped in the 13th century. So 18 is generous, but I think you're being very generous. We're pre-dark ages, I feel like. So how is it, are we going to handle intersectionality? It shows us clearly the landscape going forward is still very much challenging. But as a commentary to my quite strict timekeeping, it is not my rules that we will be breaking, but it is Allah's rule, Bu Yi. Because it is, ladies and gentlemen, a Friday. And if we pass a 12:00 mark, we will incur the wrath and the azab of Allah. And I do not want to anger the Muslims, the Muslim majority in this room. I am told that we have a very limited time for questions, so I will randomly accept one question. There is one in there. In the interest of gender equality, I'm going to privilege the women presenting. No time. Yes, please. One question for the lady in the batik. There is a microphone on your.
How do you turn it? Okay. Right. Thank you for the presentations today. I'd like to ask the first and last presenters. First is about, you mentioned before the importance of integrating UNCAC, anti-corruption, within our legal system. However, with the newest establishment of Danantara, and there were alleged violations of which several players were, as a matter of fact, using these funds on investing on something else that we have yet to find out what this is. And this causes the concerns that, are we using these funds, these sovereign wealth funds, properly, or is it just a method of corruption? And secondly, I was questioning the integrity of it, because we have two sovereign wealth fund at this point. There's the INA and there's Danantara. And to my knowledge, Singapore did have only one, yet Temasek, and it was because they have the state liquidity ability to do so, to fund it. And with our state budget at stake, is this really a doable, a most proper and a most rational action to make a second SWF, or is it just another arena for corruption to take place? And for the last presenter, I do admire your presentation about how you elaborate the amount of violence and the prejudices in the rest of regulations addressing to gender equality. However, what I was concerned about is how do our regulations or perhaps our companies in Indonesia or ASEAN as a whole can respect the presence of trans women or trans men, because they are a part of the inclusion, the gender equality. And if we don't address these genders, non-binaries also, we will always be forcing them to take on informal work role positions instead of allowing themselves to grow and eventually contribute to the economic growth or gender equality as a whole. Thank you.
Maybe mention who you are first, so that it will be easier for them to address you.
I'm Anna, research fellow for Human Rights Law Study Center. Thank you.
Okay, Anna. And I have been told by Ibu I that we will accept one more question, but we will also privilege the women. But I don't know, man. Maybe the two of you should engage in a battle royale, and then, but like whoever, would you like to give the question?
Chat. Okay, thank you for the occasion. My name is Diaretna Prabandingrum. I am a master degree student at Faculty of Law Gadjah Mada University. I wanna ask to Miss Iwan. I've ever watched a movie called Woman from Rote Island, which is this movie tell about a migrant worker who go back to the hometown with depression. So, and the story almost relevant with the reality, because I have a friend who work in migrant care, and she said that mostly the migrant worker who go back to the Indonesia almost have the disability, like mental disability or physical disability. This is the evidence of the weak protection from the state to migrant worker. But in other side, mostly the migrant worker going to abroad with the illegal way, because the pricey process to process legal document. So, is it wise if the government make the price of processing document more cheap, in case it can increase the amount of migrant worker who work abroad with, while our protection is still weak? Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Rimawan and Bu Iyi.
Yeah.
Do you have the question?
Okay.
I mean, yeah.
So I think that I will answer the first question first. Yeah, that's related to Danantara. To be honest with you, I don't know. That is the answer. Because the dust hasn't settled as yet. We don't know what is actually the design of the Danantara. What we heard is just only the narratives. But what is the design actually that we don't know? So unfortunately, I cannot give any thought of that, because frankly speaking, if they want to have some kind of sovereign wealth fund, as you mentioned, it has to be everything that's in the within Danantara. It has to be the one that's focusing on firm with lots of profit, for instance. But then, in reality, there are also some companies that actually they conducted a lot of PSO, public service obligation, that should be ruled out, should be separated from the Danantara. But then that's why if you have a question, I also have a question actually. You know how the Danantara works, because until now we haven't seen the settle of the dust as yet. So it's still blur. We don't know. So I cannot, unfortunately, I cannot answer your question. Some of the initiatives that they are trying to do, for instance, they want to spend like 50 trillion to tackle the problem of waste management. Now, we are in Sonjo. I work in Sonjo, and then we work in waste management in Yogyakarta. The problem is it's not as easy as just by providing new technology or new capital. No. The problem is with waste management is that lies in the institution of the waste management itself. Because in there, we don't have separation between players and regulators. The regulators become the players become regulators. This is the problem. Unless you tackle this kind of problem first, then any attempt to tackle the waste management, including providing the new technology or injecting with a lots of capital, I don't think it will work. So, unfortunately, that's my answer. Please.
Thank you, Parimawan. Second question about sexual orientation and gender expression minorities. I mean, like, we're still in the 13th century, Bu Iyi, so I don't know.
That's the answer. Because if we look at it from perspective of Southeast Asia, it's very difficult to talk about it. Yeah, it's a very, very difficult. Especially we want to have a consensus among Southeast Asian countries. Yeah. Even in Indonesia, we don't prohibit that, but in many aspects of the policy, try to block them one by one, try to eliminate them. So that's the problem. One of my study was about the decisions made by the court in terms of the application for changing identity and changing name of the transgender. It's a very interesting how diverse are the considerations of the court. Yeah, even though most of them granted, because we are actually in the regime of medicalizations of changing the transgender, which is very difficult for them. If we approve to gender identity change through the medicalization, for them it's very problematic, because it has to be operation, a hormone, and it's very costly, and it is a very, very problem in their own body. Yes, so that Indonesia still have medicalizations approach in agreed to change gender identity, but I find out one or two cases, even though there is a proof that the person is already do operations, change the gender, the court still did not approve because it is against religion. Even though they give, so this is 13th, 14th century, I don't know.
Yes.
but I think it is a very sensitive issue. It is not discussed openly. In terms of Southeast Asian countries, if we want to make a framework in Asians, I'm not sure we will make a agreement about it. Sorry to say again. Thank you.
Thank you, Bu Iyi. Mbak Iwan?
Okay, yes, it's true. The story is about the women who are experience sexual abuse in Malaysia and then become victim again in the community because of the gender issue, and also she's become a victim again, abusing again, sexual abuse in Rote. So this is not only one, yes, true. It's many cases. Many of our fellow Indonesian migrant workers are experience psychology problems, not only because of the sexual abuses, but because in our in the sending country, majority of us didn't receive any holiday. People are not look like machine. We even machine sometimes we have to stop. So every day 24 hours working. I have a handle of cases from West Java. She's working in Taiwan and take care of 2 elderly in Taiwan, and for 3 years never take off. Never let her to take off. So she become depression. She going to the hospital, and then send back to Indonesia. We bring also to the hospital to recovery. And then this not only her story. Another story about Fadila Rahmatika from Singapore, working in Singapore. She's from Ponorogo. We also handle her case. She's being found by the people in the port. And then she's already lost her mind. So we found her from Ponorogo, and we bring to Solo Hospital, and good, she's now better condition. So this is a reality how many of the migrant workers are facing a very vulnerable situation, not only the physical, sexual, but also psychological. And yes, the problem actually is from our government itself. The policy is mandatory going to training center and agency. And this is, the requirement are so many. There's requirements so many things, and then we have to go into training agency, and then we have to pay, expensive. So this is create another problem. So our recommendation to the government actually led us to doing direct hiring. If we already has an employer, we already can doing our employment contract, why we have to go into agency and we have to pay so expensive? This is actually really crazy question, but until today, because we are understand all of the businessmen who are open the training center in Indonesia have to pay deposit to the government. So they use this deposit. And then now in Indonesia we are, because revising the law of number 18 years 2017, because from the body to the ministry, now the government and also the legislator are increasing the deposit to the 5 billion. So this is another height of the job, of course, in relate with the corruption, actually, because until today we even didn't know the money for deposit, they has income. I don't know where's to go on the income for the migrant workers. And so our recommendation, if is give us a choice, not forced to using agency. We can doing the employment job by ourselves. And then the second, yes, the problem for, especially for the archipelago in Indonesia, as in is Nusa Tenggara, West Nusa Tenggara, Madura, and then Bawen and other. The problem from one island to another island has cost and very high fee to transportation to make a passport. You can imagine, if you are staying in the island of Rote, you have to go into Kupang to make a passport. Then you have to using a ship for 3 days. So this is cost so money. So this is also another problem we are facing. So because of that, we always campaign on the reduced placement fee or no to overcharging. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So in a way, that's sort of like a voluntary standards that Pak Win was saying. Although not directly sustainability standards, but like if each agency has already you already have some standards to fulfill, then what is the point of